This episode contains mature themes and discussions that may not be suitable for all audiences. We believe in open and honest conversations, which sometimes means exploring topics that can be sensitive or challenging. Listener discretion is advised. My name is Shantell Martin, and I'm the host of What's the Point? This is a conversation series dedicated to exploring why artists create art and the forces that influence us. Join me as I sit down with artists and friends to talk about their reasons for doing what they do and why they continue to create.
For me, the point of art is creating your own language.
A lot of times when I shoot, I think of how's this going to look in 10 years.
I don't really think about the individual colors as much as I think about how they play off of each other.
Oh, the point is the journey.
And I start to get a sense of what the painting is going to be like.
Because the point of art is simply be just to make it.
Very happy to introduce today's guest, Estevan Oriol, a photographer, director, and LA native whose work has been admired across the world. He's revered in Los Angeles for capturing lowrider culture and hip-hop lifestyles, getting his start in the arts as a hip-hop club bouncer and tour manager for artists like Cypress Hill and House of Pain. Estevan soon discovered his innate talent of documenting the culture of the people that make LA his home. Many consider him to be a pioneer in capturing the heart and soul of Los Angeles. And for that and many other reasons, I'm very excited to have Estevan as a guest today on What's the Point? Please welcome Estevan Oriol. So we met actually, you won't remember, but...
I do remember your face.
But initially we met 24 years ago because there was a show in London, in Brick Lane.
Yeah.
I think it was in 2000.
2000, maybe 3. It was called Mi Corazón.
Yeah, I don't remember the name.
Yeah, it was in the warehouse.
Yeah, exactly. It was in the warehouse in Brick Lane.
Yeah.
And I think you went by Mr. Scandalous then.
Yeah, that was just one of my nicknames back then, yeah.
So that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so I've been kind of familiar with your work since then. And then many years later, I went to an opening of yours in New York. There was a photography show there, probably 2010, 11, around there.
Was it just me or my dad too?
I think it was just you, and it was a gallery down there.
Okay.
But it's interesting because if you don't really document what those moments are, because I was thinking this morning, like, when was that show in Brick Lane? And I couldn't remember if it was like 2000, 2001, 1999. But it's interesting. You've kind of been in my orbit, or I've been in your orbit, I should say, in the last kind of couple of decades.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to start off with, just kind of the question of what was your first interaction with art?
I would say I don't really know the first one because growing up, I grew up with my mom, my dad. I would just, they were co-parenting, but here you get the other parent gets you on the holidays in summer. Or I don't know how many weekends it was. It's changed since then, but my dad lived in San Diego, so my time with my dad, I would have to go to San Diego, and he would always take me to art stuff or to nature, like either to the beach or to the mountains, and or he'd take me to Mexico and we'd go eat, tacos down there in Tijuana and stuff like that. So he was the first one who put me up on game on art. And my mom she never got it.
Yeah.
She would always say, when are you going to get a job? Like, this thing is cool. Like, she would see the paycheck sometimes, and then she'd be like, wow, okay, yeah, you got paid that much to take pictures? Okay, yeah, you're doing something right. But then another paycheck wouldn't come for 6 months. So then if you're doing the math, it doesn't equal. It's not, it doesn't make sense. But that's where I started doing other hustles, and I could never do just one thing. As much as I wish I could have, and the smart people always say, you gotta just focus on one thing and make that your one thing. And like I have a friend, he's a billionaire. He's like, early on, he was like, you should just focus on one thing. You're spread yourself out too thin. You're tour manager, you're a video director, you're a photographer, you do clothes. And I think at that time, that was all I did. And I go, okay, cool. So what do you think I should quit? He goes, well, what is it you want to do? I go, I want to do photos and film. So what do you think I should quit? The photos? And he goes, well, no, not if you want to do photography. And I go, well, filming, like directing stuff? He goes, no, you want to do that too. Do I quit my job with Cypress? That's my guaranteed money? He goes, no, you can't quit that. That's your money. And then I go, well, should I quit the clothing? And at that time, in the public eye, the clothing was the biggest thing that I had going. It was called Joker Brand. It was like we were at the Magic trade shows in Vegas, and we were in ads in magazines, and it looked like we were popping, but I didn't take no money out of it for the first 10 years because I took money from the other things that I was doing, and then I was paying my friends, that were my employees. So he's all, no, you can't quit that. And then I had to explain to him, like, well, this does this for me, and this does that for me, and that does that for me, So, like, I need them all. They're all like wheels in this machine, and I need them all this helps this helps that. And then there's sometimes where that helps that, And he was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, you got me there, Yeah. So for me, it was always the hustle, but it was all art related, like clothes, music, and photography and filming.
It's interesting because I've heard a lot of people say quite similarly, if you're everywhere, you're nowhere.
Yeah.
If you're doing everything, you're doing nothing.
Yeah.
But I think as creatives, it's not that you're doing everything. It's all tied together.
Yeah.
And there's a thread and there's a core that is a part of you that is connecting all of those things. So for the outsider, they might see those as separate mediums or industries. But for people like yourself and creative people that work in a multitude of mediums, they're all connected.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all connected through art,
Yeah.
But for them, they're salary people, they have to do one thing, has to be a certain time in their day. They have to do it, then they have to go home with their family. They go to the gym at this time, they eat dinner at that time, they go to bed that time.
Yeah.
Me, sometimes I go to bed at 5 in the morning, 8 in the morning, sometimes 8 at night, sometimes 10 at night, whenever that day. Last night I thought I was going to shoot this video from like 8 to 10 because I was like, it's only 2 verses. The song's like 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Like, man, that shouldn't take me more than a minute. 2 hours to do those, like a minute. I was thinking like, it'd be crazy to just shoot an hour a minute, you know? So I made up this crazy thing in my head that like, this is just going to be simple, Once I get there, it took a couple times to warm up for the guys. Then it took, like setting up different shots, and more people are coming, and I'm like looking around because it was supposed to be like 10 people at the max. It got up to like 30 people, and, I'm worried about if anybody's going to come and shut us down or whatever, because we decided to do the video, I think Friday night or Saturday, because of everybody's schedule. So my friend was like, hey, so are you going to pull permits so that we don't get messed with by cops or whatever? I go, permit? Where? On a Sunday? Like, there's no permit office open on a Sunday. It's like, we're going for it, And, you see like all the smash and grabs and all this and that kind of stuff going on. I don't think they care if we're shooting a music video for 2 minutes in the street that nobody's on, nobody's around here. Like, they got other shit to worry about, you know? Like, they're not chasing all those guys or, you know, coming in hot for that. Why would they care if we're doing a little music video for, you know, 2 minutes worth of music? I was going to tell them it was a documentary anyways, because I feel like if they think you're doing a music video, then you're making money. But if they think you're doing a documentary, they're like, nobody makes money.
And then you might put them in it as well, and then...
Yeah, like they just walk away, you know? So we got there. We had to push it till 9 because of the light. And then we filmed from 9 to, I think, like 2 o'clock.
Wow. So it went a little bit over the estimated time.
3 hours over the 2 hours time that I thought it was going to take.
Well, I can't wait to see that music video.
And this is something I've been doing for 30 years, you know? So that just goes to show you when you're doing art, like, you can't put a time on it like a regular guy's job, you know? Like, there's no 9 to 5 and you get to go home and take a lunch in 2:15s.
Yeah.
This is like, I was there till I was there, and then I had to get up today at 8 in the morning and, you know, got home at like 3:30, 4. Got up at 8 and started over. But I love it, you know? I wouldn't trade it for nothing. I don't want to do those regular, you know, 9 to 5 jobs. Like, I'm cool, you know?
So going back, you know, you mentioned when you was a kid, you were going back and forth between San Diego. That's quite a long trip. Were you driving, or someone was driving you there?
No, I was a kid.
Yeah.
So my back then there was a plane company called PSA, I think. Yeah, PSA. And TWA or whatever that I always would fly on. And I remember my mom and dad used to have to walk me to the door, and then the stewardess would take me in. I always sit in the front. Or I would go on the train by myself, and the conductor, I'd have to sit by the conductor of the Amtrak. When I was 17, and my mom was like, hey, where do you want to go? Because my mom was from back east. My dad's from San Diego. I got into trouble. My mom was like, okay, I got a ticket for you. Where do you want to go, Ohio or San Diego? And I go, that's easy. I'm go to San Diego, you know? So that was the first time when I was able to drive, and I could, you know, I had to go down there. And then after I was done with going to school and working, I drove back, and, you know, it was different.
Yeah. And I guess that was a lot of alone time for you as a kid, going back and forth and then driving yourself at a later stage.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of, but I don't know. I don't remember too much of the traveling time because the plane was like 45 minutes. And by the time I just start looking at a magazine or whatever, it was over.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you're kind of blown away when you're on a plane. I don't even know if they do that anymore, where they let kids fly by themselves. But, you know, you're kind of blown away that everybody's there with somebody, or the people that are there by themselves are adults, and you're there by yourself and you're a kid. But I don't know, it felt kind of cool, you know, like my parents aren't here and I'm here by myself, and I'm a kid, and all the little kids coming on the plane, they had to be with their mommy and daddy, you know, so I felt kind of like a big kid, you know.
Yeah, you had it locked down.
Yeah, it was fun.
And what was school like for you?
School, I was a class clown, and I was the fuck up. So, like, I always was either at the back of the class or outside. For a lot of my school time in junior high, I spent sitting outside, either outside of the classroom, or I had another teacher that would put me at the flagpole, which was in the middle of all the classes. So all the kids could see you
sitting there.
Up, yeah. Or they would send me to the office, and I'd do my homework in there. But, you know, I wouldn't trade it for nothing, you know. It's part of the story. It was kind of fun, you know. whatever I did to make me get out there was fun. It was worth it for me. And I look back on it now, I was an idiot, you know, like the shit I used to do was not cool, you know, but it was fun. And you're a kid.
Do you think you were the class clown because you didn't like the way that they were teaching, or, you know, was there...
Yeah.
That was just your personality dynamic with everyone else, or...
I didn't like anything really.
Yeah.
And I like to when people would laugh and have fun. And that's what it was for me, like having fun. I think that reading books of a bunch of bullshit that you don't care about or need to learn about is like boring to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, I want to make this shit fun, you know? I want to have fun. I'm a kid, you know? So I still feel like that nowadays. Like, I still feel like a kid. Like, I had a friend pass away, like, maybe 2 weeks ago. And he was 3 years younger than me. But when I was looking at him and I hear how good he spoke, and I just saw the way he ran businesses and shit like that, I was like, fuck, man, that dude's a grown-ass man. Like, he's an older man. And then I was like, when I found out how old he was when he passed, because I don't remember if I had ever asked him, you know, that he was 3 years younger than me. I was like, damn, he was younger than me. Like, I'm just like still a kid in my head, you know, like I'm still goofing around and having fun. And, you know, I just like to play, you know.
Yeah.
And I get to do that with art. You know, I don't think I could act up in a regular job. You know, I could get fired, you know, right away.
I can relate to that. And I talk with friends all the time that I really wouldn't survive in a job.
Yeah.
Because like you, I see myself as a big kid. I think play is really important. And if I see something I don't like, I'll say something.
Yeah.
And that doesn't fit into kind of a system or a role where you have to have this hierarchy. And so I think, you know, that kind of idea of creative people needing their own rules, because playing keeps you young, you know, it keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
It's something that I think all of us can learn from that and enjoy being big kids.
You know, I always worked at a place where I worked hard. Like, I would try to outwork everybody. Like, if you thought you were a good worker, I'd be like, man, that guy ain't shit. You know, I'm gonna outwork his ass easy. And I remember I used to work at this restaurant in Venice, and the manager used to always come up to me and be like, hey, man, what are you standing there for? And I go, everything's done. He goes, everything's done. And I go, yeah, go check my tables. You know, like, ask those people if they need water, they need a fork, or they need ketchup, whatever. Like, go ahead and see if there are empty plates on their table. You know, like, kind of like, go look, you know. And he didn't like me telling him, like, go look if you don't like it, you know. But I was done, and you know, I'd done everything, and I was just hanging out. I was waiting for somebody to, you know, say, hey, sir, you know, can I get more water or whatever? I was ready. He handed me a bottle of Windex and some paper towels, and he goes, since you don't have nothing to do, why don't you go clean the windows? And I did. Went back. On the way back, I checked my tables in my section. I was a busboy. So then I went back to the bus station, and he comes back over and he goes, hey, man, I thought I told you to wipe the windows down. I go, I did. He goes, you wiped the windows down that fast? I go, I did. And I go, if you want to go look at them, like, go ahead, check them out. Because, you know, I do, like, for me, when I do a job, I care. Like, it's my job, you know, so I care about what I'm doing. Like, I see so many people, they do shit like half-ass, and I didn't want to be like that. So I did everything, like, I tried to do everything perfect. And he went and looked at it, and sure, yeah, he got pissed, you know, because they were done right. So that didn't work out too long, you know. Like, he thought I was being a smart ass, but I thought I was being a good worker. And he might have let me go, or I got another job, or whatever, but It was just those type of situations until I started working with House of Pain in 1992.
And how did that come about, working with House of Pain?
DJ Muggs from Cypress Hill. I had met him in the 80s, and I met him at the clubs, and he saw the way I worked the doors and stuff like that. And, you know, he's a smart guy. He's always watching what's going on. And he saw that I worked good with people, and I knew how to handle myself, but I knew how to stand my ground too. So he goes, "Hey, I got a job for you." And I was so happy because I thought, I'm going to be working with Cypress Hill now. And he goes, "It's with another group that I work for." I go, "Yeah, okay, whatever." You know, and he was like, "It's these white boys, they do rap." And I was like, oh man. In my head, I was thinking like, they could either be like a Vanilla Ice type thing, which everybody like, you know, clown and stuff like that. Or they could be like a third base, you know, it had a little more respect in the hip hop community because they did, you know, they followed that pattern of, you know,
Third Base
like
is
the
a
real
band?
hip hop. Yeah.
I've never heard of them.
No?
Yeah, I guess I need to be educated on Third Base.
Yeah, for sure. They're from the 90s. So, he told me the group's called House of Pain, and it's with Everlast from Rhyme Syndicate. And I go, oh, cool, because I knew Everlast from the clubs also. And he goes, I'm gonna set up a dinner, me, you, and Everlast, and you guys talk to each other. And if he thinks it's a good idea, then you go on the road. And I was like, all right, cool. The only thing is you don't get paid. They'll pay for everything, your hotel, your flights, and your food. You get per diems. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was thinking like, wow, okay, I got a job where I don't get paid, but my expenses are paid. So I was trying to make sense out of that in my head. I work construction during the day. I work at clubs at night. I do okay because my apartment was only like $450 in Hollywood. And I was thinking like, man, okay, I got to go work for no money. Like, how's this going to work out? So I talked to both my bosses at night and during the day, and I go, hey man, I got this opportunity. What do you think? Is it cool if I go check it out for the summer? And they're like, yeah, man, you always got a job here, you know? You're one of our best guys, but I would say go for it, you know? You don't know what's going to turn out. And I went for it, and like a couple weeks or a month into it, the jump around took off, and we started doing these little shows, and I started getting paid. And I was like, okay, cool. And I never went back to work in the door or construction ever again.
So what was your job with them?
The tour manager.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah. So it was just us four for a while. We were driving around in a white van doing promo tours, going around to college radio stations and doing interviews, photo shoots for magazines that the label had set up. They were signed to Tommy Boy at that time. And it took off, and it happened so fast and so crazy, and it was so much fun, you know? Like, we'd go to all these clubs that in the early 90s, if you go to hip-hop clubs in like the South or, you know, New York or different places, it was mostly like African-American people, you know? So here comes like 3 white boys and me, you know, half Mexican and Italian, and we're walking through these clubs. It's just, there's no white people, no Mexican, no nothing in there. And they're like, man, you could hear people go, who the fuck are these motherfuckers?
Yeah.
You know, what the fuck they doing here? You know, you could hear it like as you're walking by, and you're like, oh shit, man, this might get ugly. You know, like these dudes aren't already not tripping on us. And we walked through the back door, and you could kind of see like people because like I would either be in the front or the back. So I'd like hold the door open, and then I would look back at the area that we just walked through, and you could see people. They were like on us, watching us, and they're like, oh, okay, like they're going to the back, like they're
Yeah.
trying to figure out what
Okay,
we
who
were
are
doing
they?
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then there was like a 7-minute cassette. It was called a DAT tape, and the first like two and something minutes. It was 7 minutes. So like the first 3 minutes was the intro, and then Jump Around would come on. But at first, it was like it's the house of pain, 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 and people are like, the fuck is this? And then all of a sudden, da, 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 and then Jump Around come on, and people would lose their mind. They're like, oh shit, that's them. And they just go crazy in the club, and it was like, it's, when you're in it at that time, you're just like thinking like, oh, this is cool. Like people love the music. But now that I look at musicians and I think of like the I think the reason you want to do art is to get an emotion from somebody, some kind. You don't want somebody to come to your art show and they just walk through and just like walk around and walk right out the door. You want them to stop, look, try and get their own little thing going on in their head. And maybe they get deeper into their emotions, like something that makes them happy or something that makes them cry or sad or even mad. So I think like that's kind of the goal of art. And it blows me away now that I'm older, that I see that music is the one thing that makes people lose their mind. Like they have no control. Like when you see like I was my friend's shows the other day, they're called Desmadre. I'm doing like a little documentary on music and here in LA, like the punk hardcore scene. And there's a festival called Sounds and Fury. They were the very first band that went on. And you probably been to a million concerts. Like the very first band, nothing's happening. All the people are standing as far away from the stage as they can, and they have like almost like the smelling shit look on their face. They're like, man, who's these guys?
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I was like, in my head, I thought like it's gonna be like kind of like that. So I walked to the front, and I had these 2 old school cameras. One's called a Bolex 16 millimeter. It's maybe 10 pounds. And my other Nikon is like about 5 pounds. So I'm carrying like 15 pounds, maybe, but awkwardly. And I'm in the front. I'm going to just get the first 1 or 2 songs with this camera, and it's going to look cool because like after if people come up, I can go to the side and I can shoot sideways. The very first drum that went off, I just started getting like beat, like
Just everyone came in.
yeah, like I must have felt like 20 hits to my back and my head, and kicks and everything.
Oh, okay.
Not like to me personally, but like that's what happened. The
It was
crowd
almost like
just
a
went
hardcore,
crazy. Yeah,
people kicking around.
yeah, and it was amazing. Like it felt great. Like at first I was a little nervous to drop my cameras and stuff, and then I came out of there like my glasses are like this, and I'm like holding onto my cameras, and I'm like, fuck. But I made it over to the side of the stage, and I was like, oh man, that was so cool. Like that was great. And I was like, man, that was great that I got hit like 20 times in the back of the head and the back, I was thinking that in my head, but then I was like, how cool is that your art just makes people lose it? And then I saw the footage, like somebody was filming me, like the calm before the storm. I'm sitting there being all cool with my little cameras. And as soon as the guy hit the drums at first and the guitar goes and the guy starts screaming, the crowd went wild.
Yeah.
And you could just see me like underneath like a dog pile, because they all were trying to get up to him to sing into the mic with him. And I was like, man, this is so crazy, but so cool. And then I just watched that whole day. there was one guy, he was like, he goes, like, as soon as the song starts, I want you to rip each other's face off. And like everybody just starts going crazy. And then he goes, okay, for this song, where's my ladies at? I want all the women in the middle of the pit. And you see all these girls come up, and you're like, well, you know, it's all girls with it. How crazy can it be? He goes, are you ready? And they just went. As soon as the music started, the girls just started going just as hard as the guys.
Wow.
Like, I'm talking like full-blown fists and flying kicks and all kinds of shit. I was seeing just faces, like I was seeing it in slow motion, like when you watch a boxing, like you know, the replay. I was watching that, but it was in real time, but I was seeing it like that, and I was like, wow, they're going hard. And the last song, he goes, okay, I want everybody to divide up the crowd. I want have a few motherfuckers on this side, have a few motherfuckers on that side, and when I say go, I want you guys to go. And you see the people like walking across, and then you'll see like some people start to go that way, and they'll look at it and look back, and they go, oh no, hell no, I'm going that side. They both go, and the music starts real slow, and then right when it's about to go crazy, he goes, go. And you see like both crowds. I'm talking about like at least 2,000 people on each side running as fast as they can to each other, like full blown punches, kicks, elbows, whatever, into each other. And I was like, that's art. Look at that shit. Like that's causing that emotion. This thing that these guys are doing are causing that emotion to where people, first of all, they listen to him. Like, who the fuck? You couldn't tell me never to, hey, man, go over there. And when I tell you to go run at that guy as fast as you can and hit him in the face or get punched in the face. Like, you're fucking out of your mind. These guys, the whole thing went and they did it. And I was like, that's so cool that art pulls that out of people to where they don't care and they lose their mind. Like, I was like, I wish I could do that shit. You know, like, not the demanding people that hurt each other, but, and the people were like cool. There was no like fights. It wasn't like that. It was just like, this is what we do at this type of thing. We all fucking go crazy. And after we walk home, go, that was the shit, man. You know, like they just go back to their car and they're cool.
Do you think it's something about like just the live experience? You know, when you're witnessing someone in their element, you know, that person on stage is in their element. They're meant to be there. They're doing something that they're passionate about. They're doing something where they're meant to be there on that stage. And I think people get caught up in that. Like, there's such a control within someone taking command of their passion, of their path. And I think in those live environments, because I think about this all the time as an artist, that you look at a photograph or a drawing on the wall, it doesn't have that live capturing kind of moment where it can kind of pull you in. Because I've definitely had experiences in the past where I'm drawing live and there's a couple of hundred people in the room and I turn around and wave and everyone waves back and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
That was weird. They all just waved back at me.
Yeah.
And I think that's the closest I've come to kind of like that feeling where you know, the crowd is there and they're with you because you're doing something uniquely you and live. That's super interesting.
Yeah, I think it's like that when you're directing and you're filming. Like, you're trying to make something that was written on a piece of paper the same vision as you see it in your head, as you're reading it. Like, maybe somebody else wrote it. As somebody else wrote it or I wrote it, I'm trying to make that come into what my visual, like, end result is supposed to be. So I have a whole crew of people that I've never met in my life, and we're all trying to make my vision come together from what I see. So I'm like directing all them, like, hey, do the camera this way, do the lights this way, you do this when the camera comes on. And it's similar, but it's not that. Like, that shit is crazy to see. And even just more mellow music, I don't know why, like, the sound of something makes people react so much differently, like lose their mind, you know? Like what you're saying is different than a regular job, and you got it. You have the people, you know, dialed into what you do. But for some reason, that's the only thing that causes that reaction is the music part of art. You know, like I'm sure you could, when they're making a movie like 300 or whatever, it's similar to that, but it's acted out, you know? That's real.
It's not pure
real
passion.
time.
Yeah.
Like there's nobody saying stop or go back to your places and let's do it again. We didn't get the camera right angle or whatever. There's none of that. It's just like, this is what we're doing right now. Everybody go, you know, all out. And when the song's over, then we start over, do another one, you know?
So when you were the tour manager, were you taking pictures then?
Yeah, that's how I started.
That's how you started?
Yeah, because I'd started building a lowrider before, it's in here, before I was working at the construction and the clubs, but I didn't really make enough money to, you know, just build it all at once. I had to go little by little. Once I got the job with the bands, it started picking up because I was able to make, you know, more money and pay the paint shop, the upholstery shop, the stereo shop, and all those things aren't cheap, you know? So, you know, you're spending thousands of dollars on each different part of the car. And, you know, this is on a car that you don't drive every day. This is a car you drive like maybe 1 or 2 weekends a month, once once every couple months. So you're trying to make sense of that in your head at the same time. And then what I learned later is that these are pieces of art also, and you're curating your piece of art. You pick that painter to paint the car, pick that guy to do your interior, you picked him to do your stereo, him to do your hydraulics, him to do your chrome, and him do your airbrushing, and you're putting all these people together, and you're making your car look the way you want it to look. And every car is one of one. So, I forgot what the question was, but
so going from a tour manager to taking the photographs, and you said that's where it started?
I was doing lowriding a lot, and my dad had told me that he had taken pictures of the same car club that I was going to get in, maybe at that time, probably 15 years or 10 years before I was ever even had a car. I bought my car in 1989. I probably started working on it in 91. And maybe I finished it in like 94. So he had seen me doing the lowriding thing. Then he saw me doing the touring thing. And he was taking photos, you know, for a long time. And he was like, hey, man, me and my wife, we have an extra camera. You should take it on the road with you, or take it with you when you go do the lowriding stuff. And I did that, and at first it was a little hard because back in those days, like, if you carried a camera around, you look kind of goofy, you know?
Yeah.
Most of the people that had cameras around, they had like a strap, and it was like hang right here. And to me, it felt weird. You didn't have a 2-pound thing just resting on your stomach, and you're walking around like, you know, all cool. It's a lot different now. Every single person in the world has a camera, and it's always taking pictures and always filming, and never looks at the pictures again or uses the footage for anything. But it was hard for me to take pictures at first because I always felt weird. One, like seeing somebody and like, do you ask them, or how do you get the picture of somebody, or why do you want to take a picture of that person? And so it started with my friends who were in the car club with me and my friends who were in the band that I work with. And then both of those type of things, there were people taking photos, just not that many.
Yeah.
Like in the music world, they had like magazines. They would come and take pictures of the show. They get 2 shows, then they had to get off, and they had to take pictures all from the same position. Nowadays, you see like 10 guys walking around with cameras on the stage while one guy's singing. It's horrible, but the same with the car meets, you know, there's more people with cameras than cars. But when I was first starting, I was like me, maybe 1 or 2 other people with a camera, and like maybe 1 or 2 people with a video camera at the car lowrider stuff. And then at the shows, it was all pros from magazines. And then maybe, you know, some people in the crowd would have like the disposable point and shoot cameras, but it was hardly anybody doing it. And there definitely wasn't nobody rolling with the band on tour, filming everything and shooting everything. So it felt like I was doing something cool and different, but from the inside perspective, like I wasn't a photographer coming to shoot a show because I was a photographer and that was my thing. It was like I was with the band and I was shooting because those were my people. The same with low riding. And it got, you know, as I got more comfortable, it became more easier. And it's still hard for me to walk around the camera. I still feel weird doing it. But I miss so many shots. I miss so many photos that I remember in my head. And it was all because I didn't want to take the camera out at that second, or I like hesitated for a minute, and then the shot went away. But
you got quite a few shots. Yeah, you got quite a few shots. And with, you know, you said your dad was taking photographs. What happened to his archive or his photographs?
He's sitting on it.
He's sitting on it? Does he show them? Have you seen them?
Yeah, I seen a part of them.
Yeah.
And I want to, he's 82 Sunday.
Happy birthday. Oh, your birthdays are close.
Yeah, 2 days apart. So, you know, I kind of, you know, made it was my thing, but I make it both of us. And I want to do a book and a documentary on him now. I don't want to wait till, you know, you see so many documentaries of, oh, my dad was this, my dad was that. And like, I don't want to say was, you know.
Yeah.
He is, you know. Look at that picture right there. This guy took that picture. This guy was there at that time, you know, not like, oh yeah, my dad was here and all that. Like, he's here right now. He's healthier than me. He's in better shape than me. He has crazy stories of his growing up through his generations. Like, he was so much different than now, it was way more different than my time growing up, and it's 1,000 times different than now. Whereas when I used to talk to my grandma as a kid, their stories were a little bit different, and it sounded crazy. Growing up, you know, my grandma came from Mexico, and growing up in her times and the stuff that she went through, stuff my dad went through, it was crazy back then, but there's no comparison to now, like how crazy shit is with everything. You know, there's so much more technology and so many.
Yeah.
Like, they were seeing stuff for the first time, and like we're seeing stuff for the first time technology-wise, like AI, and like how fast. Like, I went to a phone place yesterday to get a new phone. I go, hey, what number are they on? He goes, 15, but 16 comes out in 2 weeks. I had to get a new one, just a replacement. He goes, which phone do you have? I go, the 13. He goes, you haven't wanted to upgrade? I go, yeah, I'll just wait for the 16
Yeah.
though. But I told him I used to try to keep up with you know, whatever phone was out, the new one. I always want the new one, and I'd get a new one every time. But I go, I started when it was the 3. He goes, the 3, you know, he's a young kid. Like, that's crazy to him that I had like this prehistoric phone called the Apple 3, you know?
Yeah.
And it was like the 4, the 5, the 6, you know? Like, now it's at the 16. The kids nowadays, that's way back in the day, you know, those Apple 3 phone. To me, that's like 10 years ago.
I heard someone talking about, oh, my grandparent had an iPod. You know,
Yeah.
like my grandma had an iPod. I was like, your grandmother had an iPod?
Yeah.
So what's the hesitation with your dad from doing a show? Does he not want to, or it's kind of too big of a task?
A show, he doesn't have a hesitation doing a show, like not all the way hesitation. He he's older, so
Yeah.
he's like, he thinks like, you know, what's in, you know, what do these guys want to do? What's in it for me? I've been doing this for a long time. Is it worth it? Like, he called me today, and these guys wanted him to do a photo shoot for like cheap money, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'll pay you that much to not do it. Like, my dad ain't doing that, you know? Like, that they need to put some respect, you know? Not just on his name or like what he's done, just like the guy's been doing it since the 80s.
It needs to be an equal value of
come
like
on.
the worth there.
Yeah, like, that's ridiculous, you know? Like, have a kid do that stuff for free that just wants to be down. Like, don't do my dad like that, you know? And I don't think he has hesitations. It's just the right one hasn't come.
Yeah.
Like, if the right gallery came and was like, hey, man, we got you. We're going to pay for all the framing, all the prints. And if you want to do installations or whatever, we got you. Let's do this. He would, you know, be all in. But, you know, I just want him to do his art, but let me do like a book for him.
Yeah.
And let me do a documentary for him, and just let me do it, you know, because I've done 5 books already. They all did good, you know, so I think I got a good idea of how to do that. You know, of course, he'd have the last say of what it was. But I think I could do him a crazy book and a crazy little documentary.
I would love to see that. And like you said, you know, I think not enough older artists that are around today get to see their work in books, on TV, in film, in galleries. It's typically after, because then someone can make more money from them, you know, because the expense isn't there. But, you know, you started off by saying, you know, you don't get paid for 90% of what you're doing because of the cost of film, it costs to print stuff. You know, you're in an area or a medium that is very expensive. And so in a way, this has been an investment from you.
Yeah.
And from that investment, what has the return been?
Happiness for me. You know, like, I have fun doing it, you know, like,
yeah.
You know, like, I'd go to charge people money and they're like, well, how much did you get paid yesterday to shoot that thing? And they're like, nah. I go, nothing. And they go, so why are you charging me so much? I go, because this is a job. That was fun. That was what I wanted to do. And this is a job for you. And you get to make money off of using what I'm going to do for you.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's just part of it. And every single person tries to haggle you down. I was like, I go, hey, man, do you do this with everywhere you go? Like, you go to the gas station and tell the guy, hey, man, you know, let me get this gas for half the price. Or when you go to the steakhouse, you tell the guy, like, how much is that steak? $50. Can I get it for $25? Come on, man. Like, you know, like, nobody does that shit.
Yeah.
Like, you don't do it to the plumber, to nobody. But somehow for photography, every single person, almost 99.9% of the people want a deal.
They want a discount on
A
something that's extremely
discount.
valuable and
Yeah.
priceless.
Yeah, and it's a memory for your rest of your life. Like I take pictures of a lot of people in different kinds of lifestyles, and they end up dying, and I might have the only photos that they ever took in their life, or with somebody that, like their mom or whatever, and that is so valuable to them, you know, like that's all they have left of that person. They'll never be able to talk to them again, never be able to do anything with them again, but they have this photo to hold and look, and that triggers all those memories. Whereas the person's gone, you know? So photos to me have a huge value. Like they tell a time, you know? They tell you what things were. I mean, they're memories.
Yeah.
Like what would we have if we had no photos or no footage of anything? Like you just have a bunch of probably 90% of bullshit stories, you know? Like these prove everything. And that's what I love about it, you know? It's like I was there, like my friends are like, oh yeah, you're blah, you know, this and that. And I go, oh yeah, I was there that day. And they're like, come on, man, you weren't there. Like you were at this place and this place, and now you're saying you're at this place. I go, oh, I got the photos. I don't care. Like to me, it's kind of like funny, you know, that I'll show them the photos of the footage of me there, and they think like, have you ever seen that movie Big Fish?
I can't remember it.
There's a guy, he tells all these crazy stories, and everybody thinks
it's very fantasy, you know, there's giants,
but it's
and
all
things like
real.
that. Yeah.
And it all comes real at the end. And people just think he's some old full of shit guy. And it kind of feels like that sometimes with all the stuff that, you know, because I came up and I was born in the 60s. I saw the 70s, I saw the 80s, I saw the 90s, 2000 to 10 to 20, and now we're going 20 to 30. I've seen a lot of shit start, you know, like punk rock, hip hop, you know, graffiti, breakdancing, you know, gangs. I didn't see gangs start, but I mean, I seen different parts of that. Low riding, like some of the things started way before I got into them, but I wasn't around when they were in their primes, you know. So, and some of the things have come and gone, and some of them have come back around. You know, they're a big space in between.
Yeah.
And now they're cool again. So
talking about things that have come and gone, you know, this is here on the table is a catalog from the show that you have at Beyond the Streets. Teen Angels, for us that aren't familiar with what that was or what that is, you know, can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it was a magazine that was for gang members, and it was by gang members, but there was a guy named David Holland, whose nickname was Teen Angel. He was the platform, as you call it now. And Teen Angel was the platform that he created so that all these people could put their art and their photos in from this genre of gang life and prison life. And I was trying to shoot him back then, but he passed away before we got the shoot scheduled. And then I shot at his house the next day and shot the way his desk was and in his room and stuff. So they have the desk and some of the artifacts from his room, and they put it in the show. So it's pretty cool. My photos are the reference for that. Because like a couple months ago, I went to the Disney Studios. My friends there, they work in the ink and pen department. and Anthony Palaio, and he still is there after like many years. There was like 30, 40 people there, and so he was like, "Hey man, come down to Disney Studios, and I'm gonna take you on a tour." And I was like, "Yeah, man, that sounds great." So I went to see how these cartoons and stuff were created and how much work went into those back then. And I got to go through Walt Disney's office, and at one point it had all been like boxed up and put away, but somebody had went in there and taken pictures of everything. And so then whatever happened in that office, they decided to bring everything back in and put it back to how he had it when he was there. And like their little saying in is at the end they go, "Yeah, we put everything back, even to the very last paper clip that's on his desk." Like I heard like 3 or 4 people say something about the paper clip. So I was like, well, that's kind of cool. Like I have that of our Walt Disney, and like the guy who did all this cool stuff for our culture. I have those photos of his workspace, which is a pretty cool feeling. And Roger from Beyond the Streets asked me if I wanted to do the first show that opened up that gallery, but I wasn't ready because it takes a lot of work. We've been doing this exhibition for over a year, been, compiling all the photos and thinking about how we're going to use everything. So at that point, it was in a couple months. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to open the gallery. You want to do a show and, put some prints and some frames up on the walls?" And I was like, "No, man." At that time, I wasn't ready. So now it's been open for a couple of years. And he's all, "Hey, I'm ready to do a show. Are you ready?" And I said, "Sure." And he goes, "Would you mind sharing the space with Teen Angel?" I go, out of everybody, I think that would fit the best. Like I probably wouldn't want to do it with anybody else, but this, it fits, and I could put the photos of that era of mine with his artwork, and it fits together, it fits like perfect. So that's what we did, and it's been a good run.
Yeah, the show is incredible. It's really beautiful, and it feels like a museum exhibition. And I think I heard it got extended till October.
Yeah, all his shows are a month.
Yeah.
But this show went from 3 months to 4 months. So that tells you something. And that's a good feeling to know that, that it has the most attendance, and the gift shop is doing so good, and I've sold some prints. And I mean, I never thought me or a guy like me would be in Forbes magazine, that was like so far-fetched for me. But this show right here got me in Forbes, LA Times, a couple local news stations. Yeah. So that says that we did something right, and that we're doing it the right way. We got the right attention.
Yeah.
And then everybody who comes through, they love it, which is just as good as the feeling.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. It's well put together. And with this show, having that under your belt, after this and kind of in the future, if you could do anything, like a big, audacious goal, what would that be?
With this show or anything?
Just with anything.
Well, it's basically my goals before this show had ever came up, and it was me doing a museum show by myself or doing movies. And I've been working with Roger since the 90s. He had a magazine called While You're Sleeping. Then he had another one a few years later called Swindle. Then he worked with Jeffrey Deitch like as a co-curator of art in the streets at Mocha. And then he did Beyond the Streets downtown, New York, China, and London. And I've done all those with him. So there was a time after Dennis Hopper had passed, and I went into the Mocha downtown, and I saw all his photographs, and I was like, wow, this is crazy, because I had taken photos of him before he passed. And I was like, man, this is so, it was cool. It was like all his on-set photography that he would take whenever he'd go do a movie, like Easy Rider, Apocalypse Now, all these cool old school movies. He always had a camera. I think Francis Ford Coppola might have told him, hey, no film in that camera and don't be taking pictures on Apocalypse Now, and he did it anyways. And those were up there.
Wow.
So I saw that. It was like maybe 300, 400 photos, all black and whites. Just like, it was like overwhelming how many photos were in there and how cool it was. And I walked through there, and I walked through the whole thing. I was like, man, I got this. I can do this. Like, I wanted to compete against him, you know, like
inspiration is invitation.
Yeah, like put me in here. Like, I'll show them, you know, like I got this. So that was one of my dreams, was to get into Mocha. Well, fast forward a few years later, Art in the Streets comes along. Roger brings me in. I got 40 photos in there, and I was in there. You know, maybe not where the way I wanted to be, but I was in there still. So I feel like I had achieved that goal. The other thing was I was one of the best merch sellers in that show in the gift shop. And then I had the LA Fingers photo, which one of the curators told me, man, don't put that photo in there. Like, we've all seen that already. Like, do you really want to put that photo in? Like, hasn't everybody seen it already? And I was like, yeah, you're right. Everybody that you know seen that photo. Everybody that I know seen that photo. But nobody in Wisconsin, no one in Iowa,
100%.
no one in Kentucky, no one in Paris, you know, like all these people that are coming to see this show haven't seen it. And it was like, they gave me enough room for, it was like one wall. So I did 2 stacks of 20 horizontal photos all the way across. Those 40 photos. That was my wall. Then they're like, hey, there's that little tiny wall that's next to your 40 photos that has that ugly fire extinguisher, you know, that's in the wall. You break the glass. Can you put a photo there? And I go, yeah, perfect one. LA Fingers. That's when all that came up. That was like the most, if you went through the hashtags of the show, that was the most photographed with people's phones photo on there.
Wow.
So I was like, wow, you know, maybe I'm not such an idiot after all.
It's iconic for a reason.
Yeah.
You know?
And so that happened. Then we did Beyond the Streets downtown. One more time, I got another wall. Everybody else got like a room or 2 walls or huge areas. And they're like, hey, you see that wall over there? That's your wall. You know, like, all right, cool. I get the wall, you know? And then everybody got to pick what they were doing. I was like, I want to make this. I want to do this. I want to do this cool thing here. I want to pick all these pictures. And I went to go, I want to put in there. And then Roger goes, I got an idea for you. And I was like, oh, okay. He's all, I want you to print the same photo 3 times on the wall. And I was like, yeah, but this guy got to do whatever he wanted on his wall. That guy did whatever he wanted on his wall. This guy got his own room. This guy got this big old thing. Like, and I get that wall, and I don't get to pick what I want. You know, he's like, do you trust me? And I go, no, yeah, of course. Fuck it, you know, like, I've done like 100 shows. I got hundreds of photos framed at my house from everyone that didn't sell, because they're not all going to sell. Some of them help tell the story, and then some of them sell. So I got all these photos, and I thought I could, put some up there. People that haven't seen yet will see those. Maybe I can move some of them, I'm thinking like that. And he goes, I want to do the LA Fingers 3 times, bigger than you've ever done it before. I was like, okay, cool. And then the 2 of them sold before the show opened. The last one sold the end of the week of the first week that it was open. So like by the first week I was sold out. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then the LA Fingers was like the laminates. It was at the LAX wrapped around one of the poles when you come out with your bags. And then it was like on the things on the lamp posts, those banners.
Yeah.
It was all over those. And I was like, Roger hooked it up, And then I was bringing my merch in there, and he told everybody, like, if you have merch, bring it in the gift store, and, we'll sell it there. And I was like, okay, cool. So some guys, they don't make merch. They're just artists. They don't care about merch or want merch or don't think about it. Some guys are on it. And I brought in like a box, and it sold out like in a couple of days. I brought another box in like the next day, another box in like a couple of days later, and it was just like flying off the shelves. And he was seeing me just take the boxes in, but he wasn't going in the gift shop and seeing people, buying it or taking it out the store. Or, he was worried about the whole show. He's not really checking in on the store every single minute of the day or every day. And, they just say, hey, how's the store do? They did good. Then, they weren't doing like a tally up of who was doing what or whatever. And he's like, hey, man, what's up with all these boxes? Like, we're not your storage. And I was like, they didn't tell you? And he goes, no. I go, it's sold out. And then the next box came. The next box goes, hey, what's going on? I go, it's sold out. Talk to the girls in the store. And he was like, damn, like, that's, it was
You're
it was
onto something, yeah.
Then I went to New York. I did, it's New York. They're going to support New York the most. Sold a couple pieces over there, did go to merch. Then, everything we've done has been successful somehow, some way. And then he came to me with the idea to do this show, and this has been the best one yet. So my goals are, getting, knocked off little by little, but I still have that main goal of doing that one museum myself, I've done a couple of documentaries. One that was LA Originals on Netflix. It was like the #1 documentary, like #4 on the top 10. And that blew me away. When you look at Netflix, it's kind of like a YouTube channel, but for movies, you don't know what's on there. It's overwhelming. You just get lost unless somebody goes, hey, watch this on Netflix. Otherwise, you're just searching through stuff, like hoping that a picture, a title catches your attention to where you're like, I'm going to watch that. So at that time, it was the first week of COVID, the lockdown, and it went crazy. And I had like 160 followers. It went like 200, 300, 400, and I was like, this ain't days. In a couple of days, I thought something was wrong. I was like, dang, this is crazy. Like every time I'd open my phone, it'd be like thousands more, like 10,000 more followers. And I don't know if that happens anymore. That was just like, it's not happening for me. But I just don't know if it happens that fast for people unless you're like already famous and like your website got taken down or whatever, your page. But that was blowing me away. And then the Cypress doc came out 2 years later on Showtime. That went to number 4 on their platform. And I was thinking I was going to get the same reaction because in my head I was thinking like documentary.
Yeah, you're like, bring it on.
Yeah, like Netflix, Showtime, like it's all gonna, it's all gonna go crazy. I think I got 100 more followers when Cypress Hill documentary came out. And my merch was like, I went and like stocked up merch. And like, I think I maybe got like 50 or 100 more orders when that first week. So that kind of showed me the power of Netflix too, because Showtime doesn't go abroad. It's only here in the States. And it's a paid thing, so not everybody has it. So that kind of like, shut me down a little bit. But that was my second movie out. It did good in the ratings, in the charts. But I still want to do like a feature movie with, actors and stuff like that. I love doing documentaries. They're fun stories to tell. But I've been watching, crazy movies all my life, and I want to do one of those.
I'm excited to see one.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And just to kind of bring us back around and close us up, I have so many questions about what you would make, but maybe we'll save that for another day. But with regards to kind of as a whole, what do you think is the point of art? And I think you've kind of said it a few times in different ways, but to close up for everyone else, what is the point of art, Estevan?
For everybody else or for me?
For yourself.
Well, for me, just to keep doing stuff that makes me happy. At my age now, I just think about like peace and positivity. Before I didn't care about none of that, I was like, I'd go with the flow. Wherever we are, if it is what it is, that's what it is. Let's do it, But now that I've gotten older, I just don't want like toxicity or negative people around me. I just want to like, have fun and, just do more what I want to do. And I think if you're doing art, that's what it is, doing what you want to do and finding peace and happiness and something that helps you get through something, like something positive that helps you get through whatever you might be going through, like some type of issues you had in your past or a death that's happened or something that you're going through at the moment. And I think that that's kind of what keeps my head out of anything is doing art.
Peace and positivity.
Yeah, and then just, being able to do something I love to do. And, I'm doing something that takes me away from a lot of stuff that everybody else is going through, and I just get to focus on that. And it's for me, so it's not like I'm at a job and I have to focus on doing something for them, and then I get to go home and I don't think about that no more until the next day. This is for me. For a lot of times when I shoot, I think of how's this going to look in 10 years. Like, I'm not thinking about if I shoot this person or this thing, how's it going to look next week? I think, like, because I've seen what my old photos are doing, I'm thinking of 10, 20 years and later. So for me, that's what it is. Just, I don't know, just doing stuff that makes me happy.
No, I love that.
And things that are fun for me. It could be something that's crazy and wild, Could be like the protests or cops are going crazy on you or shooting at a prison in a different country, not knowing what's going to happen or being in a crazy place. But it's still like sparking some kind of emotion in me while I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I do it and why I won't stop doing it.
And where can we see more of what you're doing and keep an eye on you?
I mean, I would just say the Instagram or, on there I kind of announce, like, if I have a new book coming out or a new project coming out. But that's pretty much the only way, because there's so much stuff that I have that there's no way that everybody will ever see it all. You know, it's just too much. And a lot of people won't be around to see it all because I can't put it all out that fast. There's too much.
Yeah. I'd love to know, and maybe this is a question for another time as well, how you organize too much stuff and, how you know where it is and what you have and, if you are doing a show that it's at your fingertips. Because if you don't see it, it doesn't exist. And now you have decades of photography that you've had.
Yeah. Well, I have file cabinets of all my negatives and stuff, so I kind of labeled them throughout the years. Lately, I get better at it, labeling like the thing by the name of what it is and the date. But I have so much stuff that I could find it. Like, I kind of know where it is, but nobody else would be able to find it. And I remember things that are on a roll that doesn't have it labeled on there. It might be a roll of, like, say, like my car getting painted, like 4 shots of my car getting painted on one roll. That's when I was on tour with House of Pain. So it's like, out of 36 photos, there's 32 photos of House of Pain, like on tour of the Beastie Boys, and 4 pictures of my car at the paint shop. But I have it in a folder called House of Pain Beastie Boys Tour. So I'll know, like, if somebody goes, hey, do you have any pictures of your car when it was first getting painted the first time in 1992? I'll be like, yeah. Nobody that works for me would ever know, hey, go to Beastie Boys House of Pain Tour. I do, though, so...
It's in the Rolodex of your mind.
Yeah. I have I remember where it is. There's some things like that would be hard to find, but for the most part, I have everything labeled by name and date, and I have about 12 file cabinets, 4 shelves high. They're like the legal size ones, so it's a lot. This whole wall easily.
Wow. Okay, I'd love to see that sometime.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Estevan.
It's
been such a joy learning about your journey and kind of how you got here today, so I appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode of What's the Point? Recorded at Spotify Studios in Los Angeles. Check out our website made by eat.studio. Grant Alexander Peters does our theme music, engineering and editing. Research and pre-show preparation are done by Vern Molidor and Joyce Adams-So from the Shantell Martin studio team. If you like this episode, please consider subscribing to the podcast and leaving a nice 5-star review. Don't forget to check out the show description for more information on today's guest. And you can follow myself and the podcast on Instagram at Shantell_Martin. What's the point? I'm walking. I'm talking. I'm running. I'm stuck. I'm sinking. I'm being. I'm trying to grip. I'm walking. And I'm climbing. And the sun. And the clouds. And the mountains. And the sun. And the sea. It's bliss. I'm stuck in this. I'm trying to resist. I'm being connected, rejected, connected, rejected, connected, rejected through all of this. Through all of this. There is hope from all of this. There's more hope in all of this. Your home is between this. The comfort of life is beneath this. Time and space is the peace between this. You and I can be more if we find bliss. Life and lifestyle, life and life miles. Collect those miles for life. Collect those miles for stife. Collect those miles for style. Collect you and know you and be you. And walk in your shoes as you. Because you are you and I am me. Because you are you. As we look at that deep blue sea. That sea doesn't lie to you. That sea won't ever be by you. That sea is the time between you. That sea is the hope that we want to know that can find you. I see you, I see you. I know you, I know you. Don't lie to yourself, don't lie to this place. Don't understand why you want to collect things and buy this place. Don't settle, don't be. Don't understand why the trees drop their fruit beneath your knees. Don't understand why the bees buzz, buzz, buzz like buzzing bees. Don't understand why they want to take it from you and take it from me. Don't understand why they take this and take that and take this and make this and give this and buy that and be that and take this and give this and give that and give you a little bit. Give you a little bit, but enough for you to think that you are in control of your life. Rewind, inspire, reconnect, it's higher. Reflect and know thyself. Reject the education that is not for you on your shelf. Reject the warmth of the home that they pretend is for you. Pay your miles. Be alert. Seek the dirt. Grow your food. Find some trees. Walk in the breeze. Eat some fruit. Be with the bees. See the sea. Walk in the grass. Watch the flowers. See the flower. Cook with flour. Hour by hour. See the trees in the breeze. Hope, hope. Keep rope. Fullness. Be. See. I. E. You. Me. Twice. 3 times. 4 times. 5 times. 6 times. 7 times. 8 times. 9 times. 10 times. 11 times. 12 times. I. We. You. Adding up to this sum of the earth, the ground, the earth, the tree that sees that bees, that is, that goes, that is, that sees, that flows, the brightness of the light, the light, the light, the light that shines, the light that shines, the light that shines, that sees, that knows, that bees, that flows, that is, the you, that is, the thee, that is, this place, that is, I see, that is. Hold time, hold space, hold futon, hold this place, hold the peace, hold the tea, pay the heart between you and me.